Hello everybody, you tuned in to Cragcore once again. I don't know why you're here again, but you are. And for that I thank you very much. So as usual, as the name says, Cragcore, we're getting down to the bare bones. Alright, we're getting down to the bare bones of the situations, those situations that are out there right now, the current events. And it's all about me and my opinion, alright? For some reason you like hearing my opinion. Here we go, yeah. This time around, we're going to be talking about a very, very sensitive subject. But we're going to be talking about how that subject is being used in the wrong way to benefit and further the agendas of mindless individuals, okay? And I'm talking about the Sarah Everard case, because what an utter tragedy. My heart, first of all, I want to say my heart goes out to her family, her friends, anybody who knew her or didn't know her, that in some way is affected by this. Because it does touch base with a lot of people. A lot of people have had experiences, perhaps close calls in similar ways. We've all had abusive relationships in some way or another, men and women, let's face it. So it speaks to us on all levels. And I sincerely hope that those involved and those affected by it do get the support that they need. But with that, we must look at not only the tragic nature of what's happened, but also the tragedy of how it's being used to further a few sick-minded individuals' agendas. Okay? And what am I talking about there? I'm talking about this branch of the women's rights movement that seem to think it's okay to discriminate against men and push their men-hating agenda through the tragic death, or on the back of the tragic death of an innocent human being that was murdered by a psychopath. Yes, that psychopath happened to be a man, but he was a psychopath nonetheless. He committed the crime not because he was a man, but because he was a psychopath. Because psychopaths, men or women, commit crimes. Okay? The fact that these people are trying to use it as a way to benefit their cause of prejudice towards men is utterly shameful. And I'm telling you this, you ought to be ashamed of yourselves if you agree, because that's disgusting. What needs to happen is people should look at this case as the case that it is. An innocent young woman, because all victims are ultimately innocent, doesn't matter her social status or anything like that, like was implicated in the Ripper cases. You know, that innocence was based on whether or not you were a prostitute, when most of them weren't. However, we digress. An innocent young woman was brutally slain by a psychopathic man. Now, that's the case at hand. The police were quite probably a little bit lackluster with their investigations of this man by the looks of it, because of his, you know, status as a police officer, his affiliation with the police force. You know, that's a tragedy. It could have probably been prevented. And I suppose that's where the knife starts to get twisted, because a person could have been still alive. But ifs and buts don't really matter now, because we're down the road a bit, aren't we? And things have happened. But I will say this. To discriminate over a whole group of people because of the actions of a few that happen to be a part of that particular group is not right, no matter what the discrimination and no matter who the group is. You can't discriminate against homosexual people, okay? Simply like back in the day when AIDS was the epidemic. People discriminated against gay people because they were afraid that they were going to catch AIDS. It wasn't right then, it's not right now, it's never been right. At least now we know it and we don't do that anymore. But back then people did it and it wasn't right. But now we've learned. But then the focus gets switched and black people then become discriminated against. I mean, they always have been. Another tragedy. It's not okay to discriminate against all black people because of the actions of a few. Because guess what? You get good and bad people no matter what group of people you're talking about. You know, young women who go out at the weekend, young single women that go out dressed up to the nines, hair all done, makeup on the face. They go out, they get drunk at the weekend, they might have sex with somebody. You can't then say that all women that go out at the weekend who get drunk and have sex with somebody are slags. You can't say that because they're not all slags. Some women just like to go out and have a good time. You know, I mean, just like you can't say that all men are fucking murdering psychopaths because one psychopath killed a woman. This isn't on. And to suggest a 6 p.m. curfew, I'm afraid, is utterly, utterly brain dead. That is one of the most stupid things. You know, I watched an interview with a woman who is the head of some group towards women's rights. And she was saying, we need to not see these people. We need to stop seeing them as monsters because they're not. And that's right, yeah, they perhaps might not present themselves. Psychopaths tend not to present themselves as being psychopaths. But she is obviously talking about abusive men. They are husbands, they are boyfriends, they are friends. So you want to lock women up with them after 6 o'clock at night, yeah? Behind closed doors, where they're easier, you know, it's easier to abuse people. I mean, come on now. Let's be realistic. Because if these people aren't monsters, they're boyfriends and husbands and stuff. Well, that means to be a boyfriend, you have to have a girlfriend. To be a husband, you have to have a wife, or so on and so on. You need to have a significant civil partner. Now, if you're going to lock them all up after 6 p.m, we're going to be locking them up in their homes, frustrated now because they're locked up, with their significant others. And if they're the abusive type, who are they going to take it out on? So are you not just sticking something in a hornet's nest and swirling it around? How stupid are you to suggest such a thing? Anyway, once again, my heart goes out to the friends and the families and anybody who was affected by this case. It is a tragedy. And this is Crackcore signing off. Peace.